Welcome to the Atheist Podcast. I'm Erin.
And I'm Kelley. Atheist is where we will explore American cultural trends through the lenses of a devout theist
and a devout atheist. We will discuss the messiness of being human,
the latest in social science, psychology, and American culture,
and what any of it has to do with Homo sapiens' longtime preoccupation with religion.
Hey, Erin.
Hey, Kelley.
How are ya?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. We were just talking. I was in Florida with my parents. My mom has been in hospice for like almost a year, and it's just sad. It's just she's been bedbound for several months, and it's really like not a great way to die.
It's so sad. I know.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
Yeah. So, yeah. And then you were telling me about somebody that you had just heard that kind of died.
So Lauren was telling me this story that a family that they were at a play with and they had their grandmother there, and she was 90, and she died at the show, or maybe like something happened, and by the time they had gotten to the hospital she had already passed away. But the family's like, what happened? And Lauren's like, well, she's 90, like your body just doesn't keep going forever and ever.
Yeah. And it's watching my mom in this place, watching my dad care for her. I mean, it's really hard, but it leads me to think, she's 81, and that's a long life, but we think about how well we want to live, but we also think, I want to die well. Like, I want to die in a theater. I don't want to die lying in bed for 6 months.
I know.
And I know that's not necessarily always our choice, but you know, leading into our week 4 here in Meditations for Mortals, I think showing up in your life, and maybe some of these things can help us not only live well, but
yeah.
die
And
well.
he does get into in this week 4, reflections on finitude, which is one of, sort of one of his constant topics that he's bringing into everything. But kind of, that idea of like, sometimes we don't quite deal with our own mortality, or we don't recognize that it is always there, and
Yep.
that there is power in like having that part of the way that you move through the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And having that in your radar, and not avoiding it. So this week is about showing up, and this is the final week, and there's a lot of good stuff here. And this week felt a little simpler than the previous. Like, just feels um like these are more kind of simple, kind of not rules to live by, but just things to remember, like that kind of memento mori, that kind of meditation on death and keeping that. So day 22.
Before we
Jump
in, there's just showing up as the like title for the last thing. It's funny. I was just, so a friend of mine who turned 50 had a little birthday party or whatever, and I wrote a letter to her, and one of the things that I had written in the letter was about how one of the concepts about friendship that I try to really like impart to particularly the boys, because they understand, they're a age where they kind of could absorb this lesson, but is that friendship is so much about showing up, right? It's like, in the good times, the bad times, but like you're showing other people with your actions that they mean something to you by making the effort to be there, and that matters. And so anyway, had been writing to my friend that she's such a good like embodiment of that lesson, and she's always like, she's always showing up, and then she's always doing the check-in, like she's the person that remembers just random
Mm-hmm.
things that like, oh, this thing was happening. And maybe she writes it down. Like, I don't know how she remembers all of it. She must have
Yep.
a tracking system. But she's like, we'll send you that text on that day that you talked about a week before. It was like, oh, I know this is happening for you today. How did it go? Or,
Yeah.
like, and you're like,
Yep.
man, that's good.
Those people are magic. And I have a person like that in my life. Uh, Call out to Greg, who also listens to this podcast, and so he will hear this. But yeah, and we call him the uh like the he's both the cruise director and also but he's that person who's like, yeah, I knew you had that doctor's appointment today, or I know that you just like what you just did for me, asking about my mom coming home from this trip. And you
Yeah.
know you know eh, and even in you writing that letter to your friend on her birthday, not just a card but writing a letter. And there's this way of showing up for people, and the people who do really teach us how to do it well. Like I was
Yeah.
never a like thank you note person. Like, like I never was raised to like do those things, even though I know I feel like I should, but
Hmm.
I'm not good at those things. But just showing up and checking in, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the most important. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
you
So
ready to jump
bonus
in?
lesson. Yeah. Yeah.
Bonus lesson. Bonus lesson. I have a little bonus lesson in this one too that
Okay.
that
Okay.
came up in this and that I want to share that I don't think I've shared on the podcast before. Okay, day 22. Stop being so kind to your future you on entering time and space completely. So this fantasy, I mean, it's this classic fantasy that in the future is when the good things happen, right? That
Yeah.
we're
Okay.
living for the future self, that we're delaying gratification in the now because in the future, that's when life is going to be really good.
Hmm.
Um, and his thesis in this is, you know, the here and now is real life. This is that this part matters just as much, if not more, than our past and our future because it's actually what's happening and it's
Yeah.
what we can be aware and attuned and engaged with. So it doesn't mean that we can't pursue goals for the future, but we can pursue goals for the future while feeling alive now.
Yeah.
And for me, this kind of resonated in, growing up uh, within kind of more fundamentalist, kind of Baptist and Christian communities where, I heard a whole lot of sermons on when I get to heaven. And I was always like, okay, there's a real sense of I'm doing things now in order to gain a reward later.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
And I don't think that's what it's about. I don't think that's what religion is about.
It's balance, right? Like, I mean, I totally, yeah, religion for sure. But I think, I can't remember if this was the chapter where he's talking about the marshmallows, the delayed
Yes, yes.
gratification.
Eat the
Okay.
marshmallow.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And you said it
So,
marshmallow. Marshmallow. I can't say it, but go ahead.
that's great. No, yeah. So, I mean, there's that famous study, right? That like that if as a kid, if you're not the kid that like eats the marshmallow, if you can delay gratification, that those kids tend to be more successful later in life, right? Like that they're
Mhm.
able to exhibit behaviors around self-control and like impulse control that serve people well, sort of long term. But the thing that I was thinking about that, and this is like Lauren and I talk about this all the time, but it's got to be both, right? Like you have
Yeah.
to have a certain level of, I am trying to set the groundwork so that, we're doing the right thing so that 10 years from now
Yeah.
that it pays dividends. But at the same time, let's not like just live in a way that robs you of your life now just to be in pay for the future, right? So
Right.
like, whether that is, taking the trip or like last night
Hmm.
I went to I had tickets to a show and I was like, I don't know, it's a Tuesday night. Why, like, am I gonna go? And then my two buddies were like, yeah, we're gonna go. And I was
You were
out till
gonna go.
midnight and it was great and I
Yep.
was glad that I went. But it's like you got to say yes to those kinds of things, even though
Yeah.
you know, I'm going to have a little less sleep and I'm going to be a little, but
Yeah.
it's going to be worth it.
Yeah. You and it's yeah, it's taking the moment for what is and what comes, right? And feeling like you can say yes. And so, yeah, he talks about showing up more. He said a lot of people, this whole delayed gratification thing, right? They eat the marshmallow, that they kind of live in this super uh disciplined state in order to, yeah, like reap those future rewards. And that showing up more fully in the present isn't about relinquishing those plans for the future, but it's about how you show up in the moment.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really great.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
it is. It's this, this is the only moment that's real, right? And the
Yeah.
other thing that I liked about this one too was, and I can't remember how he put it, but he talked about like, that every moment that you're in is the only one that will be this, right?
Yeah.
And like sometimes we forget that, right? Sometimes we think, oh, we'll have other moments like this, or we're gonna like
Yeah.
recreate this at
Right.
another, but it will never quite be that same
Yeah.
experience. And like
Yeah.
when you, I don't know, put that at the forefront of your mind as you're having an experience, I feel like you can appreciate it even more deeply.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, day 23. How to start from sanity on paying yourself first.
Hmm.
So the way he talks about operating from sanity rather than striving for sanity, and that sanity is like the way he's defining it is living the life you want to be living. And
Hmm.
for him that's like a groundedness and a calm, um and this idea that we're striving for a place, like if I don't want, it's similar to the, day 22, that like I'm working towards having this sense of sanity rather than saying I can be sane in this place that sometimes feels chaotic, right? Like I'm
Hmm.
not like, okay, well, once I save this much money, once my kids get into this school, or once, I get this job or this promotion, then I'm not going to be as stressed. I'm not going to be as overwhelmed. I'm going to be able to relax.
Hmm.
And um his thing is, peace of mind is attainable even in the midst of our life. That
Yeah.
is not always smooth and pleasant.
Yeah, the two things kind of came to mind as I was like listening to the last chapter and then this one was and I saw this too with Lauren going through residency and just that
Yeah.
number of hours, right, that people are working. But I was one of the partners at my firm. He was talking about when him and his wife were, she was a young attorney and he was trying to grow a business, and he's like, we were working 80, 100-hour weeks. Like we weren't living at all. We were
Yeah.
just grinding and grinding and grinding. Kind of for that like
Yeah.
payoff in the future.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know that I needed to do that, but that's what I did, kind of thing.
Oh, isn't that
So
interesting?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and probably in hindsight, he probably sees how he could have, economized here or there, done things a little differently. Um,
Well, I think
but when
that's
you're
why
in it,
I know. He now like the way that we run the business now is like we don't demand that
yeah,
from employees, right? Like
yeah,
it is more like you should be able to have a life and see your
yeah,
family and friends and do a good job at work, you know?
yeah, yeah. He says in this chapter, he's quoting somebody else, but he says, the two things you need to do: one, decide who you want to be, and then two, act from that identity immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
this idea of kind of paying yourself first with time.
Yeah.
And really this idea of paying yourself first with time, this take the pause to rest, is again from like the religious spiritual standpoint like an idea of Sabbath. Like that's why, most religions probably have a part of the practice is time for rest because we
Yeah.
need it. Because
Yeah.
we need it.
What's funny is for me, the paying the self first is always running. Like
Oh, me too.
it's not rest. It's like, but I'm like, if I know that no matter what, if I do that, I will be a better version of myself the rest of the day. Like I will be
Yeah.
more alert. I'll be able to perform better. I'll be more relaxed. Like it's like such
Yeah.
an important block of time that I have to say like I'm going to put myself first for this
Yep.
activity because I know it pays dividends and everything else that will happen.
Yep. 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 The other thing that I think is really helpful and something he says, well, two things he suggests in this in how to work from this place of sanity. Um, he says oftentimes people will say like, okay, well, I'm just not going to say yes to things in the future. But the fact is we always say yes to things in the future, right? So he's like, what we really need to do is bite the bullet and negotiate the commitments that we've already agreed to and reduce the real demands on our time, which I think is, you know, to go back, and that's really hard to go back and
Hmm.
say, you know what? I can't do this.
Yeah.
Like sometimes something comes up and it's like, I can't, if I'm going to say yes to this and this is really important. I mean, like when my mom kind of took a turn, I had to renegotiate some things and had to say, you know what, I can't do this thing. And this thing is something I really would like to do, but I can't do it and give my attention to my mom and my dad in this time.
Yeah.
So I think that's important. And then also this was good, treating your to-do list like a menu rather than a list that you need to plow through. So like he's already established, if you've read his other book, if you've read the rest of the book and his other book, you know that you're never going to get the to-do list done, right?
Hmm.
So the
Hmm.
idea of plowing through the list, not particularly helpful.
Yep.
So a way to kind of engage with your life, engage with your life in a way that feels grounded and calm is to look at the things that you need to do as like, oh, look, here's a menu of items that I get to
Yep.
choose from
Yep.
to do today.
Yeah. And
Um,
even if you just tackle a couple, you'll be like,
yeah,
great.
great.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
I did that. I did
Yep.
that. Yeah. So, again, that's just kind of a shift in thinking that I think is really helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, day 24. This is a good one.
Oh, I
I
love
feel
this
like
one.
I know this is so speaks to, I think, yeah, who we are. Okay. Scruffy hospitality on finding connection in the floors. I don't
And the
know what that.
flaws.
Oh, and the flaws. Okay. And the flaws. Great. Okay. So he tells a story about this pastor who who kind of defined that term scruffy hospitality, that he and his wife used to have people over all the time, and when they would have people over, they would have this checklist of things that they would need to get done: mow the lawn, vacuum the floors, clean the kitchen, go shopping, do all these checklists. And then he found that the list started to supersede the pleasure of the time. And
Yeah.
so it started to keep them from having people over and having the conversations and having, the relationship building, because they were always feeling like they needed to do all these things. And so
Yep.
they decided to just say, you know what, we're going to invite our friends into our home the way it is, and we're going to feed them dinner with what we have in our cabinets,
Yep.
and we're going to value friendship and conversation over this
Making
ideal.
sure everything is perfect. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So,
Yeah, it's so true. It's so good. Yeah, and the thing that I also really that I was thinking about it as I was reading that too is like it's almost a little bit too of the way that you kind of, or at least in my experience, the way that you sort of move through adult friendship, like where
mm,
okay, the first time I'm having these people over, you feel like, okay, I
yeah,
do want to put together a good, nice dinner and I want to have the house clean and whatever, right? And then once you start to like, you have, I think Mel Robbins in the book, she was talking about, 50 hours spent together for like to kind of move from acquaintance to like a friend, and then
Yeah.
200 hours to like good friend. But it's
Yeah.
like once you've gone past that like 200-hour mark with people, you're just
Yeah.
like, Just come over. I don't
Just come
care. Like,
over.
I'll
Like,
put out whatever I have. Yeah.
and you don't even need to call. Like,
Yeah.
to me, it's like, I feel like we don't do that so much anymore. Like every
We do the
now that
we
we
show
have
up.
that. Do you
Yeah,
show up?
we have a neighbor that this is kind of like they've got a little girl that's the same age as Elaine, and they were in preschool together, now they're in kindergarten. And so sometimes Elaine will just be like, I just want to ride over to, her friend's house. And
Yeah.
so we'll walk over, we'll knock on the door, they'll be like, come in, and they're like, we'll make pasta. Literally,
Yeah. See, I
and he
love
just
that.
yeah, yeah.
I think I've
It's so
mentioned this
good.
before. My mom calls those friends refrigerator friends.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
They're
Yeah,
the
that's
people that
so
can just come into your house in whatever state it's in, and they can open your refrigerator and just help
yeah.
themselves to whatever.
Yep,
And
yep.
that's a really good feeling.
It is.
Um, the other thing he talks about the benefits. He uses that scruffy hospitality as like that's important, but it's also kind of a metaphor for just letting facades crumble, even beyond that. The literal house cleaning stuff. And he talks about just this idea of imposter syndrome, and he talks about. I thought this was good. This low anthropology and high anthropology,
Mm,
and the high anthropology being this kind of like be your best, humans have this amazing potential, you have to live up to your potential, this kind of Steve Jobs, inspiring talk, kind of high anthropology, versus the low anthropology of like we're all kind of struggling, we're all kind of
mm,
broken, we all live with a through line of heartache, which is very much like an Anne Lamott kind of philosophy. Like, we're going to do beautiful, wonderful things, but we're going to do it out of our brokenness.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
and, um, and so kind of allowing yourself to live between those two and not necessarily always feel like, I mean, I think our culture, defaults to that high anthropology, right? So we have to remind ourselves of our
Yeah,
low.
I think too, maybe I can't remember if it was this chapter or if it was a different one, but like kind of in this, I think it's sort of also a reminder that um all the people everybody that's even done great things, right, has flaws and brokenness,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
that's important to remember too, like
Yes.
that you don't have to treat yourself like, oh, that's not possible for me because of this or that. It's like everybody has everyone's carrying some kind of baggage with
Yeah.
them.
And that's the good news, right? Like, he's not saying we're all broken and therefore don't try. Like, he's saying the beauty is we're all broken and finite, and yet people do amazing things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So day, and I think we get to that chapter. Yeah. Well, these are all very connected. Maybe that's why I feel like it's simple, because I feel
Some of
like
them are, yeah,
these
yeah.
are all very interconnected, because I think this one, day 25, you can't hoard life on letting moments pass. This is very connected to
Yep.
that
Yep.
idea of being kind to your future you. Stop being so kind to your future you. Um, uh, living life, in the moment. So yeah, this is okay. So this is where my lesson comes in, but I want to talk about this chapter first. So
Yeah.
he talks about kind of, I don't know, he's renting a house or they're on vacation or something, and he's taking a walk in the woods, and there's this, snowy owl or something that flies by, and it's this pure moment of like bliss and beauty in nature. And then
Mm-hmm.
he finds himself in that moment ruining it by like clenching and gripping on to these moments in order to try to claim ownership of it so that it can kind of extend into the future. Like, I need to have these moments more often, or I need to remember this forever, or I need to take a picture of
Mm-hmm.
it and post it on Instagram, or you know this way of trying to hold on to the fleetingness of beauty.
Yeah,
For
this is what he says
Yeah.
specifically. He's like, "This is amazing. This is the kind of place in which I've always wanted to live, and the kind of thing I've always wanted to do in the early morning. So I better make sure that I'm getting the most of it and also do whatever I can to make sure I keep having this sort of experience forever because it's already slipping away.
Yes, yes. You can just feel the anxiety in it,
Uh-huh.
right? And
Yep,
it
yep.
is. And he acknowledges in this that, like, there is a sadness, that beautiful moments arise and then they pass.
Yeah.
Um, and he talks about the this Japanese phrase that can't pronounce the Japanese phrase, but meaning a wistful uh pathos at the transience of things, which is just lovely, right? It's just
Hmm.
beautiful. This is our Enneagram 4's sweet spot right here. Like they understand this, that nothing beautiful comes without kind of a sadness to it,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is lovely.
It's true.
Yeah. Thoughts?
Mm. No, it's just it is so true. And that's like the certain this that sadness is like a
Hmm.
reminder that it's a great moment, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The the kind of the little there are a little side mini lesson here. And forgive me if I've said this before on the podcast, but I don't know if I have. So there's a teacher of mine named Cynthia Bourgeot who is this wonderful, quirky, wacky woman who's so wise. And I took her class from something called Wisdom School. She teaches
Mm.
wisdom schools, which I love. I love that she has the like cojones to be like, I am going to teach wisdom
Wisdom.
school, right? I'm just going to teach you wisdom. And she's teaching, she is interpreting other people's wisdom and stuff too. But anyway, she has this idea called the economy of grace. And that basically um we can't we cannot uh experience joy when or we can't experience life when we are hoarding,
Mm.
and we
Hmm.
can't experience love when we're like anytime we are hoarding, it stops that flow of that of grace. So we have to let things go in order to let things kind of come to us again, right? So it's
Yeah.
this wonderful thing, like a wonderful moment of seeing a snowy owl on a beautiful morning happens. Then we have to allow the sadness of it going so that another moment can arise. And and that's to do with loving other people so you can allow yourself to be loved, all these different things. And as I was doing this class, I was also at the same time watching the television show Alive. Do you remember that show
Oh, yeah. I
on the
do
History
remember that show.
Channel?
Uh-huh.
And it was
Uh-huh.
like all these people would go out in these really difficult terrains, and you'd have like a stick and a tarp or something. That's
Uh-huh.
it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
And it was basically like whoever can live out in this wilderness the longest wins $1 million. So the
Yep.
stakes are high. Um, and the terrain is it's like real. Like there's bears, there's, starvation, all these things. So in I think it's the third season, I thought this was so brilliant. There was this one guy who was a survivalist, and he was very, confident in his survival skills. And then there was another participant she was this kind of wacky, kind of flighty woman who was a herbalist, and she could just like walk through the the woods and collect herbs and knew what was poison and what she could eat. And comparatively, he was very intense. She was very like, on first glance, she was like maybe a little spacey.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But as it went on, like the first thing she did when she got to her place was take like small branches and make this beautiful chair that she could sit in so she could look at the water.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing he did was create a smoke tent so that when he caught fish, he could smoke them and store them, right?
Yeah.
You might see where this is going.
Yeah, yeah.
So there would be some days where she would not catch a fish. So catching fish for their sustenance was challenging. There's some days that she didn't catch a fish, and then she would like go and just like eat berries or
Eat
whatever,
plants. Yeah,
eat
yeah.
plants. But there'd be some days that she would catch two fish, and you know what? She'd eat both fish. Well, he would catch fish, and he would starve himself, and he would put the fish in the smoker and hoard the fish.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So about halfway through like the whole season, they do these health checks and they go into him to check him, and he's lost so much weight and he's been starving himself that they have to pull him from the show.
Oh no.
And the irony is they have to pull him from the show, and they show his smoking tent, and
He's
it's
full.
filled with fish. Filled with fish, right? So
Unbelievable.
this is the you can't hoard life, but also stop being so kind to the future you. Stop being
Yeah.
so kind to the you that you thinks you're going to eat 60 fish someday. Like eat
Uh-huh.
the
Uh-huh.
fish, eat the marshmallow, right?
Yep. Yep.
Meanwhile, so he has to go home and he's devastated and I'm sure embarrassed in some ways. Meanwhile, our flighty, herbalist has made a musical instrument out of things. She's eating. She's not losing any. She maybe lost a little weight, but she's looking great. She's exercising.
Yeah.
And then she lasts, another week or so. And then she's just like, you know what? I think I'm done. I think
Yep.
I've
Yep.
done what I need to do here. And she probably, I will bet you that this woman could have won and could have
Yeah.
won with amazing grace.
Yeah.
But she was just like, nope, I think I'm done. And she
Yeah.
left on her own terms.
I think I remember her. I feel like I remember her.
It
Oh
was it was
man.
incredible. And it was such a lesson for me on this economy of grace, on letting
Yeah.
go, on engaging in the moment with what comes to you, enjoying it, being grateful for it, and experiencing it, and 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 in doing so, knowing that it's going to continue to come to you.
Right, right, right. And it's also, yeah, I mean, kind of what I was saying before about the balance, right? Like
Yeah,
if the fish guy had just if he had eaten half the fish and saved the other half,
yeah,
like but it's like the
exactly.
that mindset of like
Scarcity.
yes, yes, yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's a killer. It's a
It's a
killer.
killer. Yeah. Yeah, so
Good
that
one.
is
I
also
like
that's
that.
that's the story of you can't hoard life, right? Is
I
it
love
is a
it.
scarcity abundance mindset kind
I
of.
love that. I love that.
All right, so yeah, that's my lesson. Day 26, inconceivable on the solace of doubt. In here he talks about how real wisdom doesn't lie by getting life figured out. The
Oh
more we
yeah,
know, the more we
except that
realize we don't
you'll
know.
never know. You'll never really know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if
Yep.
we're waiting to take action, then when until we like know all the possible outcomes, we're going to be paralyzed, right?
Paralyzed. Yeah, analysis paralysis sort of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's like a yes. And it's again, it's like one of those sort of like everything in balance, right? Like
Hmm.
I was just talking to a friend about thinking Danny Kahneman and thinking fast and slow, like you're, like
Mm.
the quick brain that
Yeah.
makes takes the shortcuts, and then some, those times when you sort of are able to sort of intentionally say, okay, I know my immediate reaction is going to be to do this, but I need to wait and like slow my thinking down and actually think through the whole all this,
Yeah.
and I mean there's merit in that, but then also like if you take it to an extreme where you're like I need to know every scenario, every outcome, whatever, then you get to the point where now I can't move forward, right? And
Right.
so you have to like it's good to have a moment to be able to take a beat, like enough time to reflect, but then at a certain point you have to be
You
able to
have to
take
be able to.
action and move forward.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And I think that's I think that's what he's talking about here. Exactly. There was, oh my God, I saw this meme today. Do you ever look at I have to find it. I saved it. Um, do you ever look well, you don't look at social media anymore, so but there's this company called or this site called Reductress, and they
Okay.
just do these kind of memes that are kind of I think they lean feminist uh themed, but they're just hilarious. And this is one, and it's this woman kind of looking kind of, quizzical, and, with her finger in her mouth. And it says, "How to recover from perfectionism the right way." Isn't that
Oh,
perfect?
that's hilarious.
Right?
That's so
It's
funny.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the perfectionist dilemma, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
that's where you get stuck. And he talks in this chapter about how in like medieval days, where we didn't have scientific explanations for things, we would have had to have moved through life with uncertainty, right?
Yep. Yep. It
Um,
is, there is a certain level. I do think about that sometimes, like how much complexity we've added to our existence, like so much more data and like
yeah,
things that and I don't know that it serves us all that well on some
no.
levels. Like it's too much.
Well, because then, this mystery becomes this thing that's either woo woo or too luxurious. Like,
Mm,
you know, the idea that we can actually exist in a world that has some mystery to it,
mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
that our lives themselves are mysterious. Like, we need to be able to embrace that, because that is actually real,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't know everything. And he uses the example of a woman who's lost her child in
Mm.
this, and I
Oh yeah.
think he uses that in a way, because it's those things that cause great suffering, I think, that really bring us to our knees and show us that we can't know, and that we can't, you know allow, that our lives are not about productivity and meaning making. That meaning making is can sometimes, I mean, we our meaning is going to be ever evolving depending on what happens in our
Yeah.
lives, and we don't have control
Yeah.
over those things.
No. Yep.
Yeah,
Ugh,
and we
I
can't
know.
rely on our intellect to get us out of things.
Of
So
those, yeah, it's so
he
true.
encourages us, like, what action can we take today without having to know, like, either the outcome, or, you know, without having to have all the things figured out, or what fun could we have today without
Mm-hmm.
knowing, like what you did last night, right?
Yeah. Yep.
You were like, this could be a bad idea and I could suffer tomorrow,
Yeah.
or this could be a great idea and I'll have a great time tonight, and
Yep.
maybe I'll be fine tomorrow, or maybe I'll have a great time and I'll suffer, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
But
Yep.
I don't know, but I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I always, yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I was like, worst case is I get out there and I'm like, oh, this isn't as good as I thought, and I'll go home. But I'm like, the thing
Yeah,
about live music is almost never, I cannot
right.
think of a time where I'm like, man, upset that I went to that show.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's always good.
100%.
I know.
100%.
That
Okay.
collective effervescence,
That collective effervescence is a shot in the arm, man.
Yeah.
Okay. On giving day 27, a French phrase that I don't know, on giving it a shot. Um, and this is the chapter where you're talking about how, basically, like, the French phrase was basically like, a human did that.
Yes, yes, that is.
Yeah.
And well, this is where he talks about the Scientology, right? And L. Ron
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
did think that that was hilarious. And
Hilarious.
it was, but also, there is something to that, right? Like this person just is like, hey,
Hey,
I'm just gonna do this.
I'm going to start a religion based on, like, aliens.
And he did.
And he did. And a lot of people believe it.
I know. And so it
Well,
just is a
not as many
reminder that
anymore, but
Yeah, that anything is possible, right?
Anything is possible. Right. So, yeah, he talks, when he a lot of criticism that he's received on his books about, embracing finitude is like, well, don't don't you don't you need to embrace like the potential for impossibility because that's how we, make huge um, leaps in technology and healthcare and all kinds of things. And he's like,
Mm-hmm.
let's define what impossible means. And by impossible, he means things that are just literally impossible. Like, I can't be in two places at once. I can't know what the future holds, things like that.
Yep.
Um, so those are impossible. And we need
Yep.
to recognize those things that are truly create limits. Um, Things that might have seemed impossible, like the eradication of smallpox, not impossible, right? Like we can actually do that. At one point,
Mm-hmm.
that might have seemed impossible. So this idea, and this is all, and I think this is kind of throughout his work, but that this idea that by embracing our limitations of hard reality, we actually give ourselves more space and freedom to put our energy into the things that are going to make a bigger difference,
Yeah.
um, or at least a bigger difference in, maybe even the small things that matter in our own lives, right? Um, but if we fight the impossible, we're never going to be able to. Um, we're just gonna throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I know. I know. The I feel like Lauren's good about this, or like I mean, part of it is the way that she like moves to the world and her job and all that. But like, what was the other day? I was so a good friend of ours passed away from she had 5 years of terminal cancer that and she was such a good example of like I'm gonna live every minute,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
of all that time. She was just such a good example of that. But we were at her like celebration of life and she planned all of it, like from beginning to end, like this is what I want. And
yeah.
I was saying, I'm like, yeah, this is a good idea. Like if I die, I should have and Lauren's like, when you die.
If I die, when you
When
die, when you die,
I
when you
know.
die. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Oh
Yep.
man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's deal with reality as it
Let's deal with
is.
reality. Yeah. When
Um,
you die, we are all dying.
yep.
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 So give it a shot.
Yep. Shoot your shot, right?
Shoot your shot. Um. Yeah. What does he say? Wait, there's one more thing here. Um, yeah, yeah, and I think this is like kind of what you were saying earlier, like the greatest novel in the world, a person wrote that. The Palace
Yep.
of Versailles, the Sphinx, people did that.
People, yep. Yep.
And if people did all those things, then you can do astounding things as well.
Anything is possible. Yeah,
Anything is possible. But
Yep.
you can't be in two places at once.
Can't be in two places at
At
once.
least not yet.
Yep. And
Give Elon a couple years.
right. Oh my gosh. I know.
Right.
It's wild. It's wild.
All right, day 28. This is our last day, our final day. Day 28. What matters? Please tell us, Oliver Burkeman, on
Mm-hmm.
finding your way. So, yeah,
This is the
this,
one, sorry, or this is the one where he opens this with like the smallness of your life, sort
yep,
of. And I
yep,
love that. I just
me too.
absolutely love it.
This takes us back to our first kind of episode, or one of our early episodes, on awe, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
It's humbling and
Hmm.
calming to just think like, you know, it's not that your life doesn't matter. It does to the people that live, but like in the grand scheme of the
Yep.
universe, it's like you are just this like tiny little speck,
Yeah.
floating through space.
And he encourages people to kind of like meditate on like expanding your sense of space, like place yourself, in my little house, in my little town, in my little city, in my state, in the whole of the United States, in the world, in the universe, and expand out and just place yourself in space, and then place yourself in time and expand out and know that in the millennia of time, you are here for this little tiny speck, which I think is a great exercise to,
Yeah.
if you're having a hard time accepting your smallness, that helps.
Yeah. Even you just saying that is very calming. Like you just
Yeah.
imagine it and
Yeah.
it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, it relaxes our shoulders. It brings us a sense of peace to kind of realize our complete lack of importance.
Oh, it's so true.
um and then he asks the question, well then what's the point of doing anything if we can't do anything significant in the scope of time and
Mm,
space?
mm-hmm.
Um and that's where he says, I can't tell you what makes meaning for you. You kind of have to decide what makes meaning for you based on your values. And if your values are skewed, chances are your meaning is going to be skewed. So, you know, maybe look to that.
Yeah.
Um, and that our actions do matter, even if they're small, if they're local, or if they're transient. I've been feeling so much lately. Like I'll just be kind of overwhelmed. It's so funny. It's such a maybe this is retirement, maybe this is, you know, moving into the second half of my 50s here in a couple weeks. Um, but the way I used to when I was younger get kind of overwhelmed with a sense of like urgency and ambition.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have these moments that I'm struck and I'm overwhelmed by with this kind of contentedness for a small life. I am so content in having a small life.
Mm, I love that. I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is wonderful.
It
I
is.
don't
And that,
need.
yeah. And it's all, when you are just be the ability to just be satisfied with what you have and like to not just
Mhm.
be satisfied, but like, man, I am deriving a deep sense of joy
Yes.
from these like the simple pleasures of life.
Yeah.
It's the greatest thing. I had this moment. So Elaine started kindergarten this week, and that
Mm,
means we're finally able to walk her to school because it's just a couple blocks away.
yeah.
And we were just, walking to school, and I was like, this is awesome.
Yes.
This is just
Yes.
so awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
The
It
simple pleasure of a walk, just
Yeah, of
the
a walk
walk.
to school,
Yeah.
walking your child to school, the fact that you can, that you had
Yeah.
the time, that you
Hmm.
had the flexibility, the fact that you had the proximity that you could actually I mean, all these things.
All of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a small thing, but it speaks to so many things to be grateful for, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, yeah, and he says in this last entry too, and I find this really interesting. He said, we inhabit this kind of false split that we are somehow separate from the world. And this is about he's speaking about kind of meaning making and how we make, how we decide what that is for ourselves. But that we kind of, and And I'm not sure if we're born with this split or if it happens to us in the way, in a way in our culture that we are separate from the world, that we are an island, and that he says that our productivity is somehow we engage productivity in a way to earn our belonging back to the world, which I thought was so
Mm,
beautiful to name that, right?
yeah.
To
Yeah.
name that that we have this drive to be productive, this drive to be successful, um, in order to earn our belonging.
Yeah.
But really, and these are my words, but I think our spiritual work is to realize that that the falsity of that split, and that we are connected. And that's what he said, that we are connected, that, like, he quotes Thich Nhat Hanh, and we inter are, and that we irrevocably are of the world. And I would say, uh, in my root tradition, that Jesus teaches us when he says, What you do for the least of these, you do for me."
Mm,
That we are all connected, right?
yeah.
And we're not just connected to the people who we are like. We're not just connected to the people who, you know, are the same economic uh, world as us, or the same race or gender.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Or even people in, nature. We're all connected.
Yeah.
So,
That's well
yeah.
said. That's well said. Thanks,
Yeah.
Kelley.
Yeah.
This is really good.
It was good, wasn't it? What a
Yeah.
It was really fun to dive in and really talk about these things. I mean, I think the people who listen to the podcast, to each of the episodes, you could have, if it took you longer to listen to the podcast than it would have taken you to read the week, for sure.
It's true. It's true.
But I hope that just kind of listening to our banter and
Yeah.
reflections spurred
Anecdotes,
some of
how
your,
we apply it. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
kind of
Yeah.
spurred some of your own. Okay, so we're gonna have all kinds of new stuff coming up on the podcast. But I did want to just quickly, I wanted to tell you what I started reading today,
Okay.
and I was just wondering if you wanted to share what you're reading.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Do you want me
Yeah,
to go first?
sure, you go first.
Okay, so the book I'm reading right now is Abundance, and it's
Oh,
Ezra Klein, Derek
oh yeah.
Thompson, and it's really pretty interesting. So they kind of look at all of our societal problems. At least they start it with framing it from sort of a supply demand economic point of view. And so, I mean, they're very explicitly like, we are writing this for a democratic audience because those are the people who are going to listen to us. And like, we
Yeah,
recognize that those are the people who would be willing to read
right.
this book. So, we're trying to kind of map like the things that the Democrats have done wrong in the past and like how to, to
Yep.
put together a winning coalition moving forward. But well, I thought one of the really interesting things that they laid out at the very beginning was sort of that in the Democrats' sort of effort to offer services, like access to education, healthcare, so forth and so on. It's like every time you sort of stimulate the demand side, but
Mm-hmm.
you don't do anything about supply, it's going to increase the cost of these things, right?
Right.
And so I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So it's got to be both, right? And but anyway, it's interesting in
It's this
the
economy, right? This economy
yep.
of give and take.
hmm
Yeah.
The other thing that's
Abundance.
been interesting is they do a good job of kind of looking at other parts of the world and how they've addressed some of the challenges of our day, like energy, for example. And it was amazing to me actually how far behind the United States is on so many of these
Mm,
problems, like where you have other countries who've kind of figured out, Australia's really figured out. renewable energy, desalinization of water, like how to even just use dehumidifiers to create water from the air that's
Mm-hmm.
drinkable, like just stuff that you're like, why are we doing this? It's wild. So, anyway,
All
there's a lot
right.
to learn from the globe.
Abundance. Abundance from the globe. Yeah. Okay. Here's what I'm reading, and I just picked it up and I'm just dipping my toe into it. But just the book is so interesting. I don't know if you've even heard of it. It's
The Red Book.
Young
No.
Young's The Red Book.
Okay.
So this is a book. I mean, it almost looks like a Bible. It's got this like soft red, like leather cover. So the history of this book is it wasn't published, I think, until this is Jung's unpublished work that didn't get released until like I think either 20 or 25 years ago.
Oh,
Like
wow.
with yeah, after the year 2000. And it he wrote it as kind of a journal for himself, like an experiment that he was doing to kind of explore a lot of the ideas that came out in writing later. And in the original, there's a facsimile, I guess, that was printed by Norton that has like there's illustrations and stuff. This is the reader version, so it's just the text. And um, it was never, quote unquote, finished. So he never got it published, but his heirs finally decided to publish it 25 years
Wow.
ago. So yeah, it's really incredible.
Fascinating.
Fascinating. So yeah. So I just wanted to share that with you and ask what you're reading because you're always reading something super interesting. And also to ask our listeners if you have any suggestions for us to do a book talk, a book study like we did for Meditations for Mortals. Let us know. Reach out and let us know what you think we should do because this has been really fun for us.
Yeah, I've loved it. So,
All
thanks,
right.
Kelley.
Thanks, Erin. Thank you for joining us on Atheist. If you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share the episode with a friend. We really appreciate our listeners. It's because of you we keep growing and connecting with new people.
We always love hearing from our listeners. Get in touch with us at atheistpodcast.com, follow us on our socials, or leave a comment on this episode.
Atheist is produced by Justin Sywell of STL Podcasts.
Thank you for listening and keep looking for connection.